Army generals.
Shout out to Hate Army.
Your name is Hate Army? Saying Hate Army shit.
Hate Army shout out.
Good vibes to the Hate Army.
Shout out for hate.
Ladies and gentlemen, Street Fighter 6 reviews are out. Here's some of the early review scores. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 5 out of 5, 9.5 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. And those aren't just little indie places. Those are big and small, all reviewing it that way. Okay? In fact, it is the highest reviewed fighting game in 15 years. Yes. The last game that even tracked to rate this high was Street Fighter 4. Yes. Yes. Now you might say, why? Well, when you read these reviews from the professional game journalism sites, you have to take them with a grain of salt, okay? Here's why you have to take them with a grain of salt. Those people aren't professional players. There's 0 pro Street Fighter players who are journalists at IGN or GameSpot or any of these sites, you understand? So they're always approaching it from a casual perspective. So when I read things like, oh, I love the new drive system because drive impact is good for this and drive cancel is good for this and drive reversal is good for this, and I'm like, yeah, but if you read your reviews of Street Fighter V, you loved the V-Trigger system, and truth be told, the V-Trigger system was atrociously bad and unbalanced, and everyone competitively did not like it after playing it for some time, but you guys kissed its ass back in Street Fighter V days and said it was great in your reviews. So, when you're reading the competitive aspect of what they're trying to say in these reviews, I really don't believe a word of it. To me, there's absolutely no way to tell how competitively good Street Fighter 6 will be until that game is out and people are playing it and it's in the wild for at least a few weeks and people are starting to see matchups and strategies online. We get to see truly how good the netcode is. We get to see how it holds up with the crossplay. We get to see what's dominant, what's not. There's no way to judge until then. So all that nonsense, there's entire giant segments of these reviews about the competitive nature of the game. These guys don't know diddly dick. They might as well just skip it and say, we're not saying nothing because this is worthless. Okay? However, excuse me. However, what I do judge as useful information in these reviews are the things that we wanted to know about the game that we did not have answers for, but now we will have answers for them. Okay? Question number 1. When you're going to play this game online, there's a Battle Hub. What is there to do in Battle Hub? All right, well, when you're waiting for your matches online, there's a million things to do. You can sit down at one of these arcade machines and you can actually play the full game of Final Fight, and you can also play Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. But apparently it's been confirmed this is offline only. There is no online play or co-op, at least in the versions that the journalists were provided. There's no online play. Because it was funny, some people were like, oh, there could be a big revival of Super Turbo if there's an online mode where you can play it against people online. Why would they have online Super Turbo in Street Fighter 6? It's a different game. Wouldn't they just charge for that? You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't expecting that. A lot of people were speculating. Even I saw like Alex Valle was posting up last year, oh, maybe Super Turbo will be online. No. They would never do that. They would always charge for that, right? Or maybe if they do, it'll be DLC to pay for later. Right now, it's just offline, okay? Maybe in the future, but now it's not in there, all right? But there is tons of content in there. There's these games to play. There's these things you can do. And, of course, the things that they're saying is the best feature, taking your avatar from the single player and actually playing it online against other people. And people are like, it's completely unbalanced. It's not meant to be competitive. It's just silly fun. But it's actually fun to take your character you built yourself in the story mode and try to fight people with it online. There's no formal ranking. It's not going to be for tournaments, but it's going to be a fun, silly mode, okay? That's kind of neat. Now, in regards to the single-player World Tour mode, this was the mode that I had the most questions about, because I outright said, Street Fighter 6 looks like a game that was developed differently from Street Fighter 5. From the ground up, they wanted to make a game that appeals to all players, whether you're a hardcore competitive player or a casual player, whether you're going to be going to tournaments or whether you're just going to be playing this at home by yourself, or maybe a hybrid where you'll do some online play. They really wanted to make this game appeal to everyone and have value. That's exactly how you should approach a game like this. That's what NetherRealm has been doing with the Mortal Kombat and Injustice series for the last decade. That's the way to go. That's the consumer-friendly way. So, when you take a look at Street Fighter 6's World Tour mode, We finally have answers. You ready for this? So, 20 hours long minimum. Yes, the World Tour mode is 20 plus hours long. If you take your time to grind and get all the abilities, it's even longer. Or if you just play the streamlined story, it's 20 hours. Wow. That's cool. I wasn't expecting a 20-hour story mode from a fighting game ever. Ever. Like I said, the closest we could even give that would be Soul Calibur from back in the day on the Dreamcast. Had an incredibly similar premise where you created a character, and as you played through the game, you earned special moves. It's same kind of thing you're doing in this World Tour mode. But even that, I think, was like maybe 8 to 10 hours. This one's 20 hours minimum, okay? Now, admittedly, the reviewers are being honest. They're like, the story of this World Tour mode is not great. You basically are given silly tasks to do, and you go around doing them, and they don't really make a lot of logical sense. So, for example, one of the story missions is this. Oh, I've always wanted souvenirs from, I don't know, Italy. So you fly to Italy, and you beat people up in the streets, and eventually you fight like a gang leader or whatever. At the end, you earn souvenirs that you bring back. It's like, if you wanted a souvenir from Italy, why didn't you just buy something online at like Amazon? Like, why did you fly to Italy to beat people up? So the story actually does not make much sense. It's just silly. The story is just meant to be like a nonsensical story. But some of the best praise I'm actually seeing about the mode is that people are like, it's Street Fighter plus Yakuza. You're running through the streets, you're fighting random enemies, you're doing silly challenges and leveling up. It's not meant to be taken seriously in any way. It's more silly fun. And if you're okay with that, if you like Yakuza, you're probably really going to like the story mode of this game. Also, there's 18 characters to interact with. And each one, you have to do some tasks and things, and you earn their special moves. However, there are two major criticisms I'm seeing of the story mode. The first criticism is that it basically takes way too long to master a character. So what does that mean? Let's say you run into E Honda, and E Honda says, I want to teach you the ways of the sumo. So here's a series of tasks. So he gives you the tasks. Okay, great. You go do the level 1 challenges, and you'll learn a few special moves or whatever. But basically, the more that you do tasks for E Honda, the more you level up those abilities. And if you master them, now you're like way powerful with these abilities. But apparently, from what I'm to understand, it takes a ton of time to level these up. The guy, one of the reviewers that I read, I think it was the IGN review, he said, so I played the story mode for 20 hours, and I basically stuck with Ken and Luke's abilities. Those were his favorite abilities. So he stuck with those two trainers and tried to level those up the whole game. He said by the end of the game, and he had mostly stuck with those abilities, he didn't master either. 20 hours of gameplay, he hadn't even mastered those abilities. So he's like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, if you play through the game, you'll want to casually probably be swapping between the styles to get new special moves, which is great. But you'll never, ever feel like overpowered because it takes very, very long to master. But here's the thing. If you're someone who actually really likes this mode, maybe you'll get immersed in it. Maybe you'll enjoy the grind, and you'll want to keep going because you always feel more powerful when you get to the next level of this move or whatever. And therefore, you'll get hooked on it. So there's potential. There might be people who do not give a crap about online competitive play of Street Fighter, but will buy Street Fighter 6 and play it for its World Tour mode and love it. And then maybe once you really massively level up your character, your avatar, now you take them online to the random, player matches or whatever, and you see how your avatar stacks up against others that people have made after doing the World Tour mode. And the thing is, the more you play World Tour, the better you'll do on that online mode because your character has leveled up further, you see? So it seems like a mix. Like, to me, that sounds good. The other major criticism, again, is that basically the story doesn't really matter. The story is just a means for a reason to do this stuff. But they're like, yeah, you're never going to feel meaningful. It's not like you're taking down Shadaloo, or it's not like you're doing anything crazy. You're just kind of going through the world doing silly things. And as long as you're okay with that, you should enjoy the game. But take it more as not a super serious playthrough, not a super serious campaign. You'll probably enjoy it. But some people were looking for something more. They're like, it's not like the story mode of Street Fighter V that had a serious narrative. This doesn't have that at all. It's more just kind of a mess around mode. Okay? So, to me, that sounds good. That's because, I already told you guys, my wife, Kat, is interested because she likes Yakuza. She's looking right now for a game that's different. She's very interested in Diablo 4, but outside of that, she's like, I don't even know what I would play outside of Diablo 4 for the next couple of months. But now that I'm going to tell her all about this today, she might be pretty excited. She might actually be very excited to play this because she loves Yakuza. And I'll tell her, as long as you're okay with the grind. Now, one of the things that was interesting to me when I was reading these reviews is that people are like, there's going to be challenging levels in the story mode. For example, you know, it teaches you mechanics of the fighting games. For example, you might fight one guy who's a grappler, and so your goal is to keep him away. You might fight a guy who only throws fireballs, and your goal is to kind of dodge all the fireballs and get up to him and beat him up, so that way you beat him that way. And basically you're learning mechanics inadvertently. Even if you're not a fighting game player, you may learn mechanics of competitive fighting games just playing through the story mode. So maybe it's a way for newcomers to fighting games to actually ease their way in to a competitive fighting game. You see? That's kind of interesting to me. All right? So, to me, this all sounds good. Like, this sounds to me like, okay, the online beta was good. We all know that the online play was decent in the beta. Looks like the characters are interesting. We don't know until we actually get into the online play of the real game how balanced they'll be. But from all intents and purposes, competitively, the game seems to be lined up to be good. But when you tell me they put all this time and effort into other modes, the Battle Hub having side content and different things to do that are kind of chill time killers. The World Tour mode, that is a completely separate mode from anything competitive that also can be played and enjoyed. That's the total package to me. And that's why I think this game is reviewing so highly. Because it's a little something for everyone. It's not just, oh, we only listen to the competitive players. That's all we care about. Here's, you know, just that. And if we ever put more content, we'll add it slowly. Now, it's the worst attitude to have. And that's exactly what they did with Street Fighter V. And that's why that game was so bad at launch. Here, they've learned from their mistakes. All right? And that's why I'm telling you guys, when I start playing Street Fighter 6 on Friday, okay? Admittedly, I don't think we'll do story mode on Friday unless you guys want it. I think we'll just try various different characters in training mode and take them online and try to do some competitive play. I'm thinking that's my Friday. But then on Saturday, I think we will actually try World Tour mode. We'll take my avatar that I created in the beta, import them, and jump them in and do some of the story and see how it goes. Because this is essentially going to be a mode that I'm probably going to play over time as well. All right? But I know the focus will be the online play for me. But I want to play this story mode too. It sounds fun. I like Yakuza. I obviously like Street Fighter. I want to make my own character. I want to be the most ridiculous character. I want to be able to do like grappling juggles, but I also want to do like zoning. I want to do like the stupidest hybrid character you've ever seen that just, it's not viable, but somehow it'll work. You know what I mean? Anyway, so yeah, so I am down for Street Fighter 6. The reviews are basically saying this game is great. Okay? So I'm psyched now. I hope that you guys are pumped too. And again, if you're someone who is kind of on the fence about if you want to check it out or not, sounds to me like one of the best single-player modes ever in a fighting game. Just being honest. You know, even the story mode of like Mortal Kombat, what is that, like 4 or 5 hours long? It's fun, but it's done really fast. And then outside of the crypt mode, there's really not much else to do. This game sounds like it's going to have a lot to do. So you might want to consider it, even if you're not going to play it competitively. And of course, modern mode, which now lets all your inputs be eased up. No actual, you know, directional inputs, you know, rounded motions or charge motions needed. Just push a direction and a button to do a special move. Now you really don't have to pay any attention to even the harder gameplay mechanics. You can just play through and have fun in a casual way, right? So there you go. Now let's talk about the reviews for Diablo 4, all right? I kid you not. If you look at the review patterns and the scores, they're essentially the same. It's all like 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I'll say a little bit, it looks like it's reviewing a little bit lower than Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is getting a lot of 10 out of 10s. Diablo 4 seems to be like 9 out of 10s. Okay? I'm going to just read a few quotes. I have a lot out of the IGN review, so I'm going to give a shout out to IGN on this one. I'm going to quote the review a bit. Here's their little snippet, and then I'm going to read some more details. So here's their little snippet. Like seeing your favorite band play their greatest hit live, Diablo 4 is completely awesome to behold, even though you know exactly how the song's going to go from the moment you hear the first iconic note. Our review is 9 out of 10. Now, I just want you to listen to that. You're going to see your favorite band. You've already heard their song a million times, but you like hearing it live. So you enjoy the experience, but there's really nothing new besides experiencing it live. 9 out of 10. Does that sound like a glowing review? Does it? If you're just like analyzing that at face value of what they're saying, that sounds to me like this game is just a retread. But it's a good retread that plays well, but it's just a retread, right? So then you actually go into the details. And essentially what they say is, this game sticks to the formula of what's worked in the past. although they expand upon it. Yes, there's better skill trees, and they took some ideas from other games. They actually say, like, Path of Exile and Lost Ark are examples of a couple games that have come out in the last decade since Diablo 3 that have advanced this kind of gameplay, and they did take a few of those ideas from those games and implemented it into Diablo 4. Okay. They also say, just listen to this, the first act of the game is incredibly good. The story is great. The antagonist is really interesting. I guess her name is Lilith. She's supposed to be like the daughter of one of the grand demons, and she's screwing with Earth. But then the next 3 acts, you're doing tangential story that is confusing, makes no sense, and doesn't really tie into the story. Then all of a sudden, in the last act, you're back to going after Lilith, and the game's good again. Then it ends. I'm not going to say anything yet. I'm just going to, this is stuff to mull over, right? You continue to read the reviews, and they say things like, the classes are great, they're varied, they're interesting, they're addictive. If you beat the game once, you kind of want to jump right back in to try another class because it's fun to see the differences between the classes. Just so you guys know, that's par for the course for Diablo, and Diablo 1 and 2, it was exactly the same, where the classes did play differently enough that if you really enjoyed the game one time, you probably wanted to go back and play it again because you want to see how the other classes play. So again, it's not necessarily different. It's more the same from previous Diablos, but it's good because that's one of the best things about the previous Diablos. Okay? The game has seriously disappointing boss fights, especially the final one of the story. It's not hard to feel let down by what this game could have been. I'm reading word for word out of a review. I'm not making this up. I'm literally reading this word for word out of a review. Okay? It looks and sounds fantastic, even though you might not like what's going on in the story. Okay, let's continue. All right, I'm not making this up. I swear I'm reading it. Okay? Also, the game has lots of bugs. Here's an example of a game-crippling bug that everyone will complain about. If you're playing the sorcerer class, you're constantly teleporting around. However, be prepared to get stuck in the ground literally hundreds of times because Blizzard didn't account for vertical geometry changes. Now, if you continue to read through the review, essentially what the review ends on saying is that the best content of the game comes post-game. Once you play through the entirety of the campaign of Diablo 4, you open up post-game dungeons at incremental levels. I think it says like one of them is at like level 50, then there's a level like 70 or 80, then there's a level 100. And those post-game dungeons are very fun and challenging, and they really feed into the addictive nature of what makes Diablo great. It's combat. Getting better abilities, leveling up set abilities, fighting giant mobs and overcoming them. This makes you feel very powerful. And therefore, that's where the strong points come in Diablo 4. All right? And it's also funny because it says, from what's in the base game, it seems like they are definitely leading you into a DLC that's going to be great, but the base game is just a good lead up, but definitely feels like you don't hit that culmination of what you're looking for. Okay? So I just want to review what I just read, okay? It's a retread that plays much like classic Diablo, doesn't innovate that much, although it has some modern innovations for the last decade, not that many. Feels like you're kind of going home to a classic that you've already played, but it still feels good. The story is only good 40% of the time because the entire middle chunk of the game is completely superfluous and a waste of your time. Full of bugs and polished glitches and things that need to be fixed. Game doesn't really get good until you beat the story, and even then the post-game content just feels like a lead-up to a good DLC, and you're hoping the DLC is good. By the way, the review score, 9 out of 10. I wish I was making it up. This is what I mean about modern game reviews. This is what infuriates me about modern game reviews. Okay? How do you sit down and say, I have a laundry list of criticisms for this game of the ways that it could be better? Oh, by the way, 9 out of 10. Seriously, it's fucking bullshit, and I hate this shit. I hate it because people will not read the review. People, sadly, they only look at the number, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to look like the number rankings of these games and say, Diablo 4 is a 9 out of 10. Then they're going to play it and say, why is my sorcerer stuck? Why is the game so boring in the middle? Why is the story stupid? Why is it not good until I've already beaten the story, which took like 40, 50 hours? Why am I now only getting to good content? Do you see? So this is what drives me nuts about modern game reviews. Where is the responsibility? I understand that Diablo is a ginormous game. I understand that it's a flagship title for Blizzard. I understand that people will be playing and talking about it like crazy this month coming up. Does that mean that it just by default should get a high review score? I don't get it. If your entire review is criticism saying the game should be better, here's why. But then you give it a 9 out of 10, you might as well just delete the text out of your review. Really. This is what always drives me nuts about these reviews. They do not scale them properly. How can you give one game a 9 out of 10 and say it's nearly flawless, give another game a 9 out of 10 and say it has tons of flaws? You can't do that. There is someone at that publication, IGN, that company, they're called the fucking editor. What the editor's job is to do is to read these reviews and to say to the people who wrote them, you have to scale this properly. You can't say 25 negative things about the game and give it a nearly flawless score. It doesn't work that way. There has to be a level of objectivity to your review. Yes, there is subjectivity as well, but just because you had a blast with the game doesn't ignore the 25 flaws you pointed out. It can't be a 9 out of 10. Go back to your fucking desk and rescore the game properly, you irresponsible jackass. And then you kick them on the ass with a giant boot, boom, and you knock them back to their desk and you make them actually do their jobs. Instead, it seems like these major publications are a bunch of fluff piece idiots. They will literally kiss the butts of these games and have it fucking go way high scores for no reason. Why? Why is everyone pussyfooting around games media and games journalism? Just fucking be responsible and do your jobs. Because then people would say, oh, it's a good game, but it's not great. They should have done a better job. Why are you afraid to say that to Blizzard? What are they going to do? Cry? Not give you the review copy? Fuck Blizzard. Be honest about the game. Stop kissing butt. I'm tired of this shit. Because then no one can judge fairly what's good and what's not. You can't have a fucking review that has a million criticisms and give it a 9 out of 10. You're a liar. An irresponsible liar. Am I saying that Diablo 4 is going to be bad? No. From what I'm hearing, honestly, okay, that review is telling me that I might like it, and here's why. I got hooked on the the addictive, grinding nature of Diablo 1 and 2. That's the appeal, and it's funny because they criticized, said the boss fights are not good. Well, I don't really remember the boss fights at all of Diablo 1 and 2. I remember getting addicted to going to dungeons, the combat loot, using my abilities and feeling more overpowered every time I leveled up, finding a new piece of gear that now gave me awesome new abilities or enhanced what I already had in my build, and now because of that, now I can really pull off stuff I couldn't do before, or try a different twist on my build or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it sounds like it's something that I would like. It sounds like they've abandoned the problems of Diablo 3 that kind of made the game not very fun, and this one they definitely made fun. Like Diablo 3, I never felt kind of falling into that addictive kind of grind that I had in Diablo 1 and 2. In fact, I felt it was more of a chore and not very fun. But there's people who are saying this game is way more similar to Diablo 1 and 2 and is getting back that hook that people loved in those original two games, right? That's cool. And I guess the question is, would that translate well for me to streams for you guys? And the way I'm approaching it is I think it would, as long as we approach it as chill streaming content. This is not going to be a game where we sit down and we're expecting major story developments today. This is not a game where we're sitting down and we're expecting to make giant chunks and leaps and bounds through a narrative game that I'm going to beat in 40 hours and then we're done with it. This is a game that's going to have an ongoing combat loop. A game where it's, maybe 2 hours, 3 times a week. We make good progress. We have chill streams, interactive streams where we're talking while I'm doing the combat loop and gameplay and stuff. You know what I'm saying? That, to me, is how this game could be successful on DSP Gaming. It's not going to be like a standard playthrough. It can't be, because that's not how the game is designed. Yes, it has a narrative, but the narrative isn't even the best part of the game. The best part of the game is the combat and the post-game grinding content, where you're always looking for that next piece of awesome loot that you grab, and now all of a sudden your build went way better. You know what I mean? Kind of like Hades. Hades, where, yes, it's about the combat. Yeah, there's a story, but who cares about the story? It's all about the combat, getting the better builds and just dominating the enemies and stuff. That's what Hades excelled on, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking, is that's exactly how it could work. But then I would need the buy-in from the audience that you guys are going to actually come and chill and support that content, because it's very different from the kind of content that I make. Quite frankly, when do you ever see me play this style of game? Right? It's very different. Very different. With Zelda, we already have some buy-in. We already have people who are showing up to the streams and they're enjoying the playthrough and know what to expect. But with Diablo, not really. I've only really played a game like Diablo once ever, and the playthrough didn't do good. And that was over a decade ago. But maybe today, with the changes to the content I've made and everything, it would. Alright? So I think that it could work. But it is a gamble. It is a gamble for me. And I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical about buying this game and saying we're putting Zelda on hiatus and starting to play it, and then it doesn't work. So I don't know. Again, I'm still undecided and on the fence. I don't know if I should keep playing Zelda or if I should keep playing Diablo. What I would say is Diablo seems like it's going to be an addictive game for someone who wants a time sink style game that's going to be addictive and fun, and, you know, you like looting and you like, you know, competitive combat loops. That's really what it's going to be. So don't expect a great story. Don't expect, you know, this game to blow your socks off when it comes to innovation or narrative. But if you want a game that's going to hook you, that's what Diablo was always good at, quite frankly. So I guess we'll see. Let's see what happens in the next week. I got Zelda 2 more times. We got Street Fighter 6 this weekend. And then over the weekend, we're all going to sit down together and try to make this determination. Do I try Diablo, or do we keep going with Zelda? And we have to make that decision. And my audience is split. My audience is not in agreement. Right now, people in the chat are in disagreement. They are. It's going to be a tough decision, man. See, look at this. Oh my God, people just right now in chat. I got 2 or 3 people saying, we love Zelda. We were already in Zelda. Keep going with Zelda. You can't put Zelda on the shelf. And then you got someone else. Oh, I changed my name on YouTube to say the buy-in. My name is literally now the buy-in, and I'm buying into Diablo, and I'm here for it. And DZ Ape did a super chat. Diablo would be lit. It would be lit. So it's like, I don't know. Magic 8 Ball. Will we be able to come to a definitive conclusion on what to play by early next week? Don't count on it. Son of a bitch. All right. Well, guys, let's continue to think about this. I guess also it'll be depending on how today and tomorrow go in Zelda, right? If we have a really great time in Zelda and we're making great progress or whatever, it might make more sense to continue with Zelda in the short term. What if I could beat Zelda in a week or two, right? And then we could finish Zelda by the middle of June, and then we could actually focus heavily on Diablo later. Maybe we should do that. And you know, there is another factor to all this that I haven't even discussed yet. Are you ready for this? Final Fantasy 16 comes out the 3rd week of June. I think it's June 21st or 22nd, right? When that comes out, you know that's going to be the game everyone wants to see, right? You know that. That's a huge thing. How can I also be playing Diablo and Zelda while I'm playing Final Fantasy 16? Jasper, this is it. I'm turning Jasper into a machine gun. He keeps jumping on me. Stop jumping on me, you nut. You're not going to sit on my lap today. I keep telling you, you can't sit on my lap when I'm streaming. Absolutely not. In bed, he sometimes snuggles and stuff. That's okay. But not when I'm streaming. Okay. These contributions are mandatory. It's because I'm getting older and I'm running out of time. Tipping me helps me more than anything.